Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, I got one thumbs up and I got two. How's it coming through, people? My name is Daniel and I am really excited. I get to see these Moto Z and Moto Z Play units first. Now, this is really cool because this is not the same as the Moto Z Droid and Moto Z Play Droid that are sold on Verizon. These are the international models. These are the unlocked versions. So I want to dive into these, and I also want to dive into these. Now, this is a pile of mods. I am super excited about these. These are Moto mods and they connect to the device. And I'm so excited about this one. This one I haven't actually seen before. This is the Moto Z InstaShare projector. Hey Ahmed, you are more excited than I am. I don't know if that's possible, but we'll see. And finally, this is I already looked at this back in August when the Moto Z Play was announced, but this is the Moto Z, this is the Hasselblad Moto mod that attaches right to the back. So these are all available soon in the US and Canada, but I wanted to get to the phone. So let's put these aside, and I think everybody wants to see this first, right? So let's do it. This is the Moto Z. Now, everybody who's seen the Moto Z Droid kind of knows what they're in store for, but let's do it anyway because there are so many people in the world who have yet to see these devices. All right, so here it is, the Moto Z, or Z if you're in England or Canada, where I am. This is one of the thinnest smartphones on the market. This thing is 5.2 millimeters thin, and it is super nice. I really like this thing. It's one of the phones that I look forward to using. That this whole year I've sort of been going, when is Motorola going to one-up the original Moto X from back in 2013? This is that phone. I really like it. So just to be clear, Tori, thank you for watching. This is the unlocked Droid, the unlocked Moto Z. It is not the one for Verizon. This will be available in October in the US. So let's take this beautiful little plastic off. I'm gonna get real close here so you can hear it. Oh yeah. That is the best sound in the business, people. So on the front, we have a 5.5 inch QHD display, and I'm just gonna turn that on. Now, this is obviously a Moto device, but now that the company is owned by Lenovo, there are a couple of things that are different. Obviously, on the bottom, we are looking at one of the first phones with no headphone jack. That's right, this thing does not have a headphone jack, just like the iPhone 7. And Motorola says that the reason for it is that it was just too thin, so they couldn't fit all the electronics in there. Instead, it comes with a dongle or an adapter in the box, and I'll get to that in a second. On the back, we have a 13 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, laser autofocus, and phase detection autofocus, dual detection autofocus. We have a power button on the right side here underneath two separated volume rockers. And on the left is nothing. It's just this super thin aluminum design. It's really nice. And on the top, there's the SIM card slot. So that's it. We're gonna put the phone to the side. You can see it just booted up. That is really nice. And we'll get to that in a second. But let's take a look at what's inside the box. So, comes with this nice case, very sleek. I really like this. It's sort of a bumper. So it's a plastic bumper that you can put over the phone. It protects the sides. Really slick, actually. I'm gonna see if I can put it on properly, but Oh, it's the other way. Okay, so that is... This is not making for good television, so I'm going to put this aside. There you go. All right, there you go. I got it. So here we go. That's the bumper installed. And you can see it adds a little bit of bulk, but it's not so bad. But I'm going to remove this because the next thing underneath in the box is one of the coolest parts of the Moto Z ecosystem. This is the style shell. Now this one comes in the box. It's a kind of a rosewood or darker wood version, and what it does is it sticks magnetically to the back. So you can see here the pins on the bottom, that's where the Moto mods are installed, and it has some it has a pin here to align and some magnets, and it just sticks to the back there, just like that. Really neat, doesn't come off, it's actually really fast, and it adds some thickness to this 5.2 millimeter phone. And what it does is it levels out that camera bump, so you don't have a camera bump when you have one of these style shells on here. And it's super comfortable and really nice to use. So I like it because it adds some grip. It adds a little bit of thickness, which in this case is a good thing. Inside the phone is a 2600 milliamp hour battery, really nice. It's not that big of a battery, and with the Droid that I used, it doesn't get a full day of use. But we'll see, there are some solutions to that in a second. So I'll put the phone and the style shell aside and we'll take a closer look at what else is in the box. We have a turbo charger. So this thing is going to charge your Moto Z to about, it's going to be 50% in 15 minutes or 60% in 15 minutes. And it'll charge your phone from start to finish in under 90 minutes. So that's really nice. And then we also have, as I said, that adapter. So we have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on one side and a USB Type-C port on the other. So this plugs directly into the bottom. Let's try to open this up without taking too long, because I know you guys, you're impatient for the next thing, I get it. So here is the USB-C port, and I plug that right into the bottom, and then you can plug your headphones in here. So it's actually not a bad solution. It's quite a bit longer than the one that comes in the iPhone 7 box, and this should technically work with any USB Type-C phone. So any phone that has this new port, you should be able to use it. Now that's not to say that you won't be able to use the headphone jack in your existing phones, but if you have a pair of really nice USB-C enabled headphones that have the digital audio converter in the headphone itself, then you can use this to get that, that high quality audio. So there you go. That is what's in the box of the Moto Z. I can open this, but I think it'll just be manuals. So let's take a look. Yep, just a couple manuals. But this is really what it comes down to. This is not a Droid. This isn't sold on Verizon. This is the Moto Z for the rest of the world. So we'll put everything aside again, and we'll move on to the second phone. And that is the more affordable Moto Z Play. Now this is a really nice phone actually. I think this is one of the nicer mid-range phones on the market right now. This is the Moto Z Play, and I think that for $400 you can't do much better than this. And even though the spec sheet does not necessarily agree with me, I still think it's a great phone. So let's go through some of the specs. First of all, it is also a 5.5-inch display, but it's 1080p down from QHD on the Moto Z. You can also see that it has a 16 megapixel sensor on the back as opposed to a 13 megapixel, but this has this does not have OIS, so it loses the optical image stabilization, it loses the phase detection autofocus, it sticks with the laser autofocus as well. So that's a trade-off that you make when you go down in price a little bit, but it has a massive 3510 milliamp hour battery, which is incredible for a phone of this price. This thing on its own will last you the whole day, and then with some of the Moto mods, it should last you up to 2 days. You also have 32 gigs of internal storage and 3 gigs of RAM. Plus, this has a Snapdragon 625 chip inside here. So it's not the latest and greatest, but if you're kind of a spec person, you will know that the 625 is one of the fastest mid-range chips on the market. And from what I've seen so far, this phone flies. It's really, really nice. On the right, we have the same type of button setup, power button below the separated cameras, the separated volume buttons. And on the left side, there is nothing. On the top, we have that SIM card tray to the left here. And on the bottom, there is a USB-C port. Now, obviously, the big difference here is that this also has a headphone jack. Now, why does this have a headphone jack? Well, I asked Motorola that a few weeks ago, and they told me that the Moto Z and Moto Z Force were designed together as a single phone, even though the Force, which is only sold on Verizon, does not need this, does not necessarily need to get rid of the headphone jack because it is a little bit thicker. However, the Moto Z Play was designed separately and as a result had some extra space on that board so it could fit that headphone jack. Both phones, I didn't mention actually, both phones have that front-facing fingerprint sensor, and it's pretty fast. It's a little ugly in my opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of that square design, but everybody else is doing that rounded rectangle, so Motorola probably didn't have much of a choice. Now, you can see here that the phone is also quite a bit thicker than the Moto Z. So the Moto Z Play has a much bigger battery, has that headphone jack at the bottom, but mostly it looks pretty similar. So they do, I'm going to take this back off here because I want to show you the differences. If you've read my hands-on with the Moto Z Play Droid, you'll notice that the Z and Z Play have a different textured back. So the Z Play has this, it has glass on the top and bottom, and then this stainless steel shell here, whereas the Z Play is completely glass from the top to bottom. Now they both have the Moto mods, so you'll know that if you buy a Moto mod for one phone, you can also use it on the other, which is really neat. Motorola really wants you to buy Moto mods with the intention of sharing them amongst your family. So say I get the Moto Z, your wife, husband, son, daughter, cousin, whatever, gets the Moto Z Play, you can use the same Moto mod. So that's really neat. Let's go over to those Moto mods because I'm really actually quite excited to show them to you. But first, oh yeah, I love doing that. All right, so which Moto mod do you want to see first? This is the InstaShare projector. Now this is the only Moto mod that's technically made by Motorola, which is really interesting. What this does is it adds a little projector to your device. Now I'm not going to be able to turn it on because I haven't actually set up the phones yet, but I do want to show you the hardware here because it's really interesting and it's something that no other company is doing quite as well as Motorola. Now you can see that this is quite a big product. It's quite thick and adds a little bit of bulk, but there is a battery in here. And what you see is that it attaches like this right to the back with magnets. So once you turn it on, you'll be able to set your phone down and project it like so. It's pretty neat. And what you see is that there is a very tiny little projector on the back here. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff with this. You can project it on a wall, you can set it up in an office, you have volume controls, you have a power button here, you have speakers, so it's really neat. It's oh no, sorry, this is actually a fan, so it does get a little bit hot, and Motorola definitely thought ahead, which is nice. But you can see it just fits right over that camera, And it's quite a sleek little device. It has this hinge here that you can move back and forth. And once you're done with it, you just pop it out. And that is that. So this Moto Mod, I think, is $299 US. It's quite a bit of money, but it's definitely worth it if you are somebody who needs a projector in his or her daily life and doesn't want to carry around a separate sort of unit. You can just carry this quickly in your bag, and it works quite well. So just to go over the specifics here, it's up to a 70-inch projector. It's 50 lumens, so it's not the brightest. It has a focus wheel, an integrated kickstand, and a built-in battery for an hour of projection, and auto keystone correction, which is an essential feature of all projectors. Next up, I'm going to show you this. Now, this is one of my favorite Moto Mods. This is the Incipio off-grid power pack. What do you get with this? Well, you get an extra 22 milliamp hour battery. So pop this out. Not a very forgiving box. Okay, so here it is. This is a fairly thin little battery, but what you can do is you take it, and you can see here it actually has a little light to tell you the charge, and it just plops like this onto the back of your phone. Now, yeah, with the Moto Z Play, it does look a little fat, I'll admit, but this adds an extra 2,220 milliamp hours to your phone. That's 8.2 watt hours. This is one of the most useful devices that you can buy for your Motorola, your Moto Z, your Moto Z Play. And what it does is it actually charges wirelessly. So you can charge this independently if you want, which means that you can put this down on a wireless charger and you can get it to a full charge, or you just put it on the back here, and then when you're charging the phone itself, it will then charge the phone, and once the phone's finished charging, it will then charge the off-grid power pack. So it's a really neat setup, and I think it's an essential buy if you're going to be purchasing the Moto Z or Moto Z Play. It's about $70, I believe. $70 for this, and it's definitely worth it. Combined with the Moto Z Play, you're getting about 5,700 milliamp hours of battery, and it's not much thicker than a regular smartphone. So this thing together will probably get you through a full day of use, or probably 2 full days of use. Okay, we're moving right along here. I want one more before we get to the big kahuna. Now this thing, how do I open it? I gotta have nails for this. This thing is, oh, here we go. After spending so much, I would really want to put a case on it. Yeah, you know what? So Motorola is really they're not really promoting cases so much, and only because they want you to use one of the style backs. And they're selling them separately, so you get one in the box like this, and you can buy them separately if you want. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I'm so disorganized here. I was so excited to get to the Moto Mods. I didn't actually unbox the Moto Z Play. Who wants to see the Moto Z Play? All right, I'll do it anyway. So similar to the Moto Z, you have a bunch of manuals. Man, who needs that stuff anymore? FCC, am I right? You also have a turbocharger. Now this is slightly smaller than the one in the Moto Z, I believe. Could be wrong. I'm trying to do everything with one hand here. Nope. Same one. Ha! Who'd have thought? And that's it. There's no adapter, obviously, so you don't, because you have that headphone jack. So pretty simple. There are no headphones in either of these boxes. So if you do want a pair of headphones, you're gonna have to buy them separately. All right, where were we? We were right here. This, my friends, is the JBL Sound Boost speaker. This is one of the coolest Moto mods I've seen, but it's not super practical because, well, you have to carry it around with you. But I love it. All right, give me a phone. So I'm gonna remove this off grid. You can see here, it's super easy to remove. They're magnetic. So they just snap right back on. You wanna get rid of it? You just take it, put your thumb in the little groove here, put your nail in the groove, and you just remove it like that. Really, really nice, really easy and fast. And this one is a speaker. So like with the projector, it has a stand, and you just snap it onto the back, like so, and you have a speaker with a stand. So cool. This is a metal stand. It's really nicely made. Snaps back and forth. I could probably just do this for a really long time, but I won't because you want to see more stuff. This also does have a battery in it, and it gives you an extra hour of playtime. But unlike the off-grid charger, you can actually charge this via USB Type-C. So you recharge it using the cable that you got with your phone, and it doesn't take too long. It takes about an hour, hour and a half to charge, and there you go. So I used this on a road trip when I went to on a 6-hour road trip a few weeks ago, and instead of using the speakers in my car, I just used this, listen to music, listen to podcasts, and it's really loud. It's a fantastic little device. And if you haven't seen Phil at Android Central, he reviewed this on Verizon. He also reviewed the Moto mods, and he liked it. I think he's right. This is a great little Moto mod. It's really fun. It is not waterproof, so that's a good question. Thank you, Lauro. Neither of these phones are waterproof. They have what Motorola calls water-resistant coating, or a water-resistant nano coating, which means that all of the ports have this coating applied to it that makes it resistant to water ingress getting inside the hardware. Does not mean, however, that they are waterproof. You cannot, like you can with the Galaxy S7 or iPhone 7, take this underwater. Please do not do that. Your phone will fry. Okay, we are on to the last Moto mod. Now this, I think, is the most interesting. This is the Hasselblad True Zoom Moto mod. Everybody who has seen the Moto mod system when the Moto Z first was announced was like, where's the camera mod? This is the camera mod that they announced alongside the Moto Z Play in September at IFA. So I got to play with this before it came out. Well, it's still not technically out. It's coming soon. But I got to play with this a little bit, and it's a really nice piece of hardware. Now, Hasselblad, if you don't know, is one of the most legendary camera manufacturers in the world. They are a Swedish company, and they have never done a consumer product. This is $249. Most of their products are in the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. Obviously, this is not quite as high quality, but it's still very cool to get a Hasselblad name, the brand associated with a consumer piece of electronics. So here you go. This is the Hasselblad Moto mod. The really interesting thing about this is that when it hooks onto the back of your phone, like so, it gets its own camera sensor. It's a 12 megapixel sensor. It has 10 times optical zoom. And you can see here, it has its own power button, its own 2-stage shutter button, and it has zoom controls, which is really neat. So I'm gonna have to actually load up the phone, but lucky for you, I went through time and I loaded up another phone just so I can show you these mods in person. So hang on one second. All right, you still here? That's great. So you see here, I actually have a Moto Z Play that's turned on and all set up. So I'm using this lighter wood style shell, and I'm just gonna remove that. And somebody, I forget who, somebody wanted to hear the sound coming out of the JBL Sound Boost. Hey, Zaid from India, how you doing, man? Okay, so I have this, and you can see here, it's quite simple. When you install a Moto mod, you get this little pop-up, and it says, JBL Sound Boost, now you can pop out the kickstand and turn up the volume. Got it. So there is a software element to this, which is great. And you can see here, it says Moto Mod battery. And if I expand the widget on the homepage here, you get the battery of the device itself and the battery of the Moto Mod, which is really neat. So I'm going to open up Google Play Music, and I'm going to try to play something. Entering beast mode. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this on Facebook, you won't hear the true volume of this thing, but it may just be it may give you a good sense of what.
Right now at Fido, you can get an
Oh, give me a break, Google.
Zero as in the number of running.
This is what happens when Google buys something. They add ads to it. All right, check this out. All right. So I don't know how well you heard that, because Facebook compresses the crap out of everything, but it's really loud. It's not just a little bit louder than the mono speaker on here. It's a lot louder, and it is really high quality, way better quality than I thought from a mod like this. So definitely worth it. I can't remember the price. I think it's about 150, 200 bucks. So it's a big investment, but the sound is fantastic. And I'm going to play with this Hasselblad here. Now, somebody mentioned that, our bud at AC MKBHD had reviewed this, said it wasn't that great. I tend to agree. It's not the greatest quality, but it's super, super fun to use. So you can see here when I install it, you get a little splash that says, get ready to capture amazing detail with 10 times optical zoom and a xenon flash. Swipe through, and it gives you a little explainer, and you got it. So you go right into the camera app here, and you can see when it loads up, it actually extends. So when I zoom, you get physical movement in the lens. Thank you, Marcus. Oh, see, I love you guys because you were right there with the information I need. The speaker is $99, and I saw somebody up there from Canada. What's up? How you doing? So this is the Motorola camera app. You can see it looks very similar to what you get if you're just using the camera by itself, but it has some Hasselblad magic, I guess. So what you can do is, unlike with the regular Moto Z and Moto Z Play, you can actually capture raw images. So down here, I can capture uncompressed raw images, and I can upload them to my computer and edit them there. Really cool. You also have sports mode, night portrait. They're okay, I guess. Okay, so Ryan says it's 80 bucks. Either way, I'm sure places are discounting it, but it's not that expensive. So on the back here, you can see it really does look like a camera. You get your xenon flash, you get your Hasselblad logo here, and you actually have it's about a 250 millimeter equivalent maximum focal length. So you can get really, really far with this. Now, obviously, I can't show you because it's just gonna blur and it's not gonna focus properly. But you can see here, it's pretty fast. So that was with the raw mode turned on. I'm gonna turn that off so it's a little bit faster. See here, it focuses really fast, and you get the option to preview the photo you took, or you don't have to. So the other stuff that you can change here, you can change the photo size. Obviously, I said it's a 12 megapixel sensor. You can change whether you want to review it. And you also have the option of capturing video. Now, the weird part is that even though this has a 12 megapixel sensor, you can only shoot 1080p video. I don't know what's going on there, but whatever. So yeah, I agree. It's an awesome concept that the execution's not so great. It's a little expensive. It's $250. But if you are an avid photographer, especially somebody who goes on a lot of trips, and you don't necessarily want to carry an expensive point and shoot with you, if you're just looking to get some really great zoom action going on here, this is actually a really good buy. Everything about it screams quality, and that's nice. There is no camera, or sorry, there's no battery in here. It does use the battery in your Moto Z or Moto Z phone, so just keep that in mind. And it gets super hot, like crazy hot. So also keep that in mind. You won't be able to use it for that long without taking a break. So if you're looking to shoot films on this, probably don't do that. Okay, so that is the whole thing. We just unboxed 2 phones and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Moto mods. That, my friends, is a pretty successful unboxing. Is there anything else that people want to know about before we go? Because I'm really excited about these phones. I'm also really excited that more people are going to be able to use them. This has been exclusive to Verizon since July. And once it comes to the US as an unlocked variant, it's also coming to Canada. It may come to Europe, hopefully, and it'll come to other countries around the world. I think that this is Motorola's best phone series in years. I'm a big fan of the company going all the way back to the Moto X from 2013. And even though this is not perfect, I will admit there are issues with these products. I think that Motorola mostly nailed everything. So I'm going to leave this there. Thank you so much for listening, so much for watching, and we will see you again very soon, I promise. Take care, guys.